A lot of addiction is running away from experiences we don't want to be with. We feel boredom, we don't want to be with it, and so we run away into the addiction. We feel lust and we don't like that feeling, so we want to, get rid of it by acting on it. And so
Mhm.
learning how to sit with unpleasant emotions is a huge part of recovery, and that's kind of what we're going to be doing in mindfulness is we sit down, we pay attention to things just as they are without pushing away the unpleasant experiences or trying to grasp after or hold on to the pleasant experiences. On today's episode, part one of a special two-part series from the live recordings of the Porn Resilient Marriage Summit. I'm once again joined by Taylor Chambers, this time to explore the transformative power of mindfulness meditation in overcoming porn addiction. We dive into why mindfulness is essential, how it helps manage cravings and intense emotions, and its advantages over some traditional psychological approaches to recovery. Plus, in this episode, I'll be guiding a mindfulness meditation session to help you experience its benefits firsthand. As a special bonus for podcast listeners, I'm offering a limited time $100 discount on my 14-day training guide, Mindfulness Made Easy. The offer expires at midnight on October 31st, so don't miss out and sign up today. The link to the discounted course is in the show notes area, or you can go to my website and use the code MINDFUL at the checkout page. In other news, if you're looking for support in overcoming porn addiction or unwanted porn use, please sign up for a free discovery call to see if the Unhooked Academy Group Coaching Program is a good fit for you. In the community, we host weekly live coaching calls. We have a private online community forum and a support network, and access to the Unhooked Academy training modules. If you sign up right now, you'll get lifetime access to the course and the community. So don't hesitate. And now, without further ado, let's dive into part one of the meditation series.
Okay, hey, welcome everyone. I'm super excited for this. I'm a a big fan of mindfulness, if it's something you can be a fan of, and really excited to share a mindful moment with everyone, and particularly to share it with Jeremy. So, Jeremy, thanks for being here, man. Forgot to mention this earlier, but would you mind giving a brief introduction of yourself for any of those who haven't seen your interview yet?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a porn addiction recovery coach. That's what I mainly focus on these days. I have also been a meditation teacher for the past 10 years or so. Spent some time as a Buddhist monk in Myanmar. And I also have a background in genetics. So I kind of bring together science and spirituality a bit, um, but really focus on the porn addiction recovery work as it's part of my own story. So
Cool.
that's who I am and what I do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're the
Yeah.
perfect guy for this space right here, right now. I'm glad we could connect and make this one happen. So, today we will do a mindfulness meditation. We'll talk a bit about mindfulness right now. And then in a couple of days, we'll do a loving kindness meditation, which are two different styles of meditation. And then last time Jeremy and I were chatting, I kind of learned even some of the underlying differences, not just a different approach for the same thing. But so that'll be interesting to explore next time as well. So, okay, cool. So I wanted to just spend a couple of minutes exploring why I think mindfulness is so important, why it's something that I emphasize, and why so many other people are emphasizing it. It still it's in this interesting place where it's becoming much more widespread, but I still feel like as a culture, like Western culture broadly, and even within our little culture of porn addiction recovery, we're still getting familiar with it. We're still trying to figure out what exactly it is that we're talking about here. So hopefully this is gonna be valuable and helpful. So Jeremy's interview is worth checking out because we go into depth on kind of what that is. But one of the things that I've been thinking about with mindfulness recently is that you'll hear all the time that pornography is just the symptom of a deeper problem. And so, everyone is trying to go after the root cause. And in the discussion panel, we talked about that today and dug into that um, from a few different points of view of like what exactly is meant by root cause. And so we talked about things like trauma, even intergenerational trauma. We talked about things like um, simply the nature of pornography being something to get hooked on. So even if there isn't a background of trauma, early exposure or frequent exposure, particularly when we're young, can just really set a habit. And other things that we're taking a look at in terms of like what's the root of this. Attachment theory is another lens. Um, but for me, my understanding of mindfulness is like the root's kind of just right there in this like moment by moment experience. And it's kind of like this non-Freudian way of looking at it. Freud were kind of trying to like dig into the subconscious and unpack what's there and figure it all out. And I do some of that, and I don't do Freud stuff directly, but we do the exploration, the interpretation of what's going on. But sometimes what seems to help us most is just to cut to the quick of like, let's forget the history, let's forget all the stories, let's forget all the trauma, and just in this moment, what's happening right now that moves us from one step of our conditioning to the next step, which then of course sets us up for the very next step. And if we can start to really gain an observational awareness of how our automatic conditioning unfolds, we start to find these little choice points um, that of kind of where we could branch off and do something slightly different. And I've loved mindfulness. I mean, even for example, in work related to grief and anger and other things, I love the principle of mindfulness. And a mindfulness meditation, the practice is to sustain concentration, but it's kind of like this aspiration that's hard to achieve. And so most of the practice is actually just returning our concentration to the intention, right? And that kind of returning after we've strayed just as many times as is necessary has really been illuminating for me in like, okay, I got angry. I don't need to go on a project of figuring out why that's a part of my character, where that came from in the past, and what I need to do, therefore, to prevent all future occurrences of anger. Like I can just bypass all of that and just like, hey, that was a moment. I'm a little more conscious right now. I'm going to engage right now in the most resourceful way I can. Um, so I'm talking, some of that is the mindful observation, and then some of that stepping out of that back into proactive action. Um, but I really wanted to offer that as a potential route for viewers to be exploring. What is it that might be pulling you through the thread of it starts here with this trigger, then we go through these, pre-acting out behaviors. We act out and then we feel crappy and then we get back on the wagon and recommit to recovery or whatever. And just wherever we're at there, if we can be pausing and looking at what is the pull from this step to the next, I think there's going to be a lot there. So I wanted to offer that as an angle on mindfulness and why it kind of matters in general. So, Jeremy, any thoughts or any other things that you want to share about mindfulness as it relates to this recovery business?
Yeah, there's so much good in what you said. And I really love the, kind of the talking about how we don't have to go into this Freudian approach, to understand where everything comes from. We can just go straight to the source, which is, okay, what's going on in my mind right now? And that's a
Yeah.
lot of what mindfulness is really understanding the dynamics of the mind and how it's reacting to certain experiences here and now. For my own recovery, I didn't actually do any kind of inner child work or any trauma exploration. So it's not necessary to recover. What is necessary is to go to the root of the addiction, which is that craving, that thirst,
Mm-hmm.
that wanting to act out. Um, One just other tidbit that I'll say about mindfulness in particular, like part of it is this learning how to come back, the concentration part where we get lost and then we learn how to just start again. And that's a very important part. There's one other really important part to mindfulness, which is the way that we're relating to whatever's happening. which is the quality of our attention. And that's really important for mindfulness, which is, can we actually make space for whatever experience is arising? And that's particularly important around different emotions. If there's restlessness, if there's boredom, if there's anxiety, can we actually notice those emotions without pushing them down or running away from them or trying to suppress them, but actually making space for that experience? Because a lot of addiction is running away from experiences we don't want to be with. We feel boredom, we don't want to be with it, and so we run away into the addiction. We feel lust and we don't like that feeling, so we want to get rid of it by acting on it. And so
Mhm.
learning how to sit with unpleasant emotions is a huge part of recovery, and that's kind of what we're going to be doing in mindfulness. Is we sit down, we pay attention to things just as they are without pushing away the unpleasant experiences or trying to grasp after or hold on to the pleasant experiences. So I just wanted to add that in because it's a nuanced part of mindfulness, but a really important part of mindfulness.
I love that. I'm thinking of yesterday. My wife had this moment of just like overwhelm and just like frustration, and I immediately couldn't tolerate it, and just like, "Ah, shoot, like, all right, fine, let's all get serious. Hey, everybody, quiet down. Like, let's restore. My conditioning is like, she's got to be happy if I'm going to be happy, which is false, but there it is. And then so I got to like make sure the environment is controlled and all of that. And if I could, like, I missed that space to like settle into that emotion. I think that'll
Mhm.
be familiar with people. And I know for a lot of couples, I'll talk, and when we're talking about mindful awareness, many people are aware. I mean, I've had so many clients tell me that they're really self-aware, which is sometimes feels pretty true and other times not. But either way, how would we ever know if we're self-aware or not? Because we we know as much as we know, and we don't know what we don't know. Um, but a lot of times that awareness doesn't have a quality that's useful to it.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so, for example, in couples conflict, it's like we know exactly how this unfolds because it's easier to watch when you can like watch the other person do their side of it, right? And so I say this, they respond that way, and then he goes away, and then I get upset, and then then we make up, and it takes 3 days or whatever. And they can tell you the blow by blow of an argument, but what may sometimes be lacking is that quality. So I love that you brought that up of just like being able to bring non-judgmental awareness to it, the non-judgmental part, so hard for
Mhm.
us. And then being able to abide in whatever tough emotion is showing up. So,
Yeah. There's a great book. I forget who wrote it, by some Buddhist master. The title of the book is "Awareness is Not Enough."
oh,
And it's
interesting.
it's this like wonderful idea, which is so true, is that just having awareness isn't the whole game of it. It's like you can be
Hmm.
aware, but still have a very, suppressive attitude towards what you're aware of. You can say, "Oh, I'm aware of my loneliness, but I don't like it. I want to get rid of
Yes.
it." Right. And so with mindfulness, like, awareness is the first step, but the second step is saying, can I make space for this experience? Can I actually welcome this experience without trying to run away from it or push it away or hold on to something pleasant?
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of my lust management training was like when you notice the lust, bounce the eyes, or 3 second rule, or we had these different techniques that were all in some way aversive rather than
Hmm.
like tolerate it. It was like
Right.
get rid of it as quickly as we can because it's dangerous and it could blossom into something else.
Right.
And so it feels really risky to sit with something like lust.
Yeah.
Um, but that's something that I've learned more and more. I can't say that I've mastered it. Lust is still pretty wild in character, and eroticism in general is like this pretty wilderness kind of experience. Um, but to be able to abide in that and trust that it's an element of the experience, I can contain it. Uh, I want to be careful. Contain almost sounds like control, but you know, I can abide with it perhaps.
And when that's exactly it. It's such a thin line between it's very nuanced there, because it's like, yeah, we do want to actually have some some self mastery over it and some ability to skillfully work with those emotions. And a lot of times there can be a hidden aversion or a hidden desire to control it. But
Yeah.
lust is a great example. It's, the phrase that we all know is what we resist persists,
Hmm.
right? And so the more you push it away and try to shove it down and say, oh, this is dangerous, get out of here, right? It just actually grows stronger. It
Yeah.
doesn't actually help it. And so the secret key to helping to work skillfully with those strong emotions is to actually stop resisting them, make space for them, and then they kind of lose their power over you.
Right. Yeah.
They're still
Which feels
there, but they're
radically
not in
different.
control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I love that. Well,
Yeah.
let me pitch one question your way that I know a lot of people ask. I think sometimes mindfulness is one of those things where we're not sure what to ask, but I know that one question that I've gotten is, how do I start? And so
Mm.
I think the westernized version, and maybe this is more than just the West, I don't know, but like, we've got kind of this trend of like, 10 minutes a day often through an app. And I'm just curious on your thoughts on, is that kind of like dosing and structure a good starting place? Is that missing the point, or is there a better way to get going, or is that like the trend? I guess I'm curious if you find that it's a helpful one, or if it might be somehow misleading or something along those lines.
I think it's very helpful, especially if you're
Hmm.
following an app or a course. I provided my course in the
Yeah.
all access bundle. There's also tons of apps where they follow a certain structure to try to teach you the fundamentals. And
Hmm.
so I think that's a great way to get started. Headspace or Calm. Um, if you can do something that actually, what you don't want to do is just kind of do it randomly and just listen to a guided meditation without really trying to understand what you're doing.
Hmm.
Because what you want to be doing is growing in your ability to actually understand what you're doing in the meditation. Like, what are you applying with your mind? But 10 minutes a day is a great way to get started, especially if that's all you really have. If you are more motivated and really want to dive deep into this, then a great way would be going on some kind of meditation retreat where for certain hours per day over the course of a couple days, you're really diving in deeply. That's a fantastic way to learn. But doing an app or a course 10 minutes a day is also fine.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. It's one of those things where we kind of like try and pack it into our existing life, which is, yeah, what else do we do? I mean, that's what we're up to. But hopefully it starts to seep into more of an overall perspective and overall
Yeah.
lifestyle. So,
I mean, a great analogy is just like learning a language. Like you can learn a language by spending, 10 minutes a day on Duolingo, but your proficiency is not going to be as good as if you do an immersive experience. If you fly to Spain and spend a
right.
month there practicing every minute of every day, you're going to learn much quicker than if you spend 10 minutes a day on an app, right? So if that's all
Gotcha.
you have, that's the best way to do it. But if you can do some kind of immersive experience to get started, that's a great way also.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. So, I've been thinking more. You mentioned a 10-day retreat to me, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'd like to do that. So,
Yeah.
I don't know
I,
when.
I don't know if this will kind of like go against what I just said, but when I did my first 10-day retreat, it almost felt like all the meditation I had done up to that, like I didn't actually know what I was doing. Like I realized after the 10-day retreat that I hadn't really even been meditating.
Hmm.
Um, but that's why I think the quality of meditation instructions has gotten so much better since when I started, and that's why I created my course, is because
Yeah.
it's so important to learn the fundamentals. Like, what are you actually doing? It's not just closing your eyes and trying to block out your thoughts, right? It's not just
Right.
closing your eyes and thinking about your breath. There's actually some nuance there that's important.
Yeah. Very cool. All
Yeah.
right. Well, now I thought we were going to be pretty brief there, but I love the discussion. So thanks for indulging me there, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Um, what I'll say is, if we'll jump into a meditation together right now, and then if any are um, interested in sharing their experience afterward, feel free to chat and let us know. And so I'll be asking about that, just a heads up so that you can be paying attention. So, okay. All right. I'll let you take the reins and I'll go along for the ride.
Cool. So it just first in terms of posture, just sitting anywhere you feel comfortable, maybe sitting a little more upright than usual. A good rule of thumb is to see if you can lengthen your spine a bit. And then after you lengthen your spine, maybe relaxing the neck and shoulders. So finding a nice balance there. But anywhere you feel comfortable is fine. And then if you feel all right closing your eyes, you can close your eyes, knowing that you can also keep your eyes open if you prefer. And if you keep your eyes open, just have kind of a soft gaze towards the ground so you're not looking around. So closing your eyes or keeping a soft gaze towards the ground. We can start with just a few grounding deep breaths. So breathing in deeply and exhaling, letting it all out. Let's do that one more time. A deep breath in, a long, slow exhale out. And then from there, starting to just let your breath return to its natural rhythm. So letting go of any control of the breath. And just letting the body breathe itself. It's very helpful at the start of a meditation practice to spend a minute or so just checking in with your body and seeing if there's any tension or tightness that you can relax or soften. So checking in with the muscles in your face. Can you ease any tension? Relaxing the muscles around the eyes and the eye sockets. Relaxing the jaw. Letting your shoulders drop and your hands rest heavy. Letting your whole body feel relaxed and soft. And if possible, see if you can come to a place of stillness in your body. See if you can avoid any fidgeting or moving around. Just letting your body be still. And then from this place of stillness, starting to notice your breath. Just noticing wherever you feel your breath in your body. You might notice the feeling of your belly rising and falling. You might notice the feeling of your chest expanding and contracting. Or maybe becoming aware of the sensation at the entrance of your nostrils, feeling the air coming in and going out. Wherever you feel the breath most clearly, just see if you can gently keep your attention there, following the movement of your breath. And again, important here to just let the breath be natural. So that this is not a deep breathing exercise. You're just noticing your breath as it is. At some point, you might notice that your mind has wandered away from the breath. And when that happens, you can just very gently invite your attention back to the breath without any self judgment or criticism. Very gently coming back, feeling your in breath, feeling your out breath. And again, when you notice that the mind has wandered, without any judgment, very gently bring yourself back to just feeling your breath. And in the same way that we can be aware of the feeling of the breath, we can also explore getting curious about our emotional state in the present moment. So, expanding your awareness and just checking out what emotion is present right now without judging it to be good or bad. Maybe there's peacefulness, calm, stress, confusion. There's no wrong answer. You're really just investigating your own experience. What is here right now? And if you're not sure what emotion is present, you can just make space for that, not knowing. And now moving your awareness from your emotional state and opening up to the experience of sounds, tuning into the sounds around you. What sounds are present in this moment? Maybe the sound of birds or traffic, the sound of my voice. Can you be aware of the sound of silence? Just tuning into what you are aware of in this moment. And now bringing your awareness back to your body, becoming aware of your whole body, just feeling the general shape or outline of the body. Nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to go, just being aware. And then to bring this practice to a close, we can take a deep breath in and a long, slow exhale out. In your own time, gently opening your eyes. And you might try stretching if that feels nice, moving your body around. All right, Taylor, back to you.
Yeah, hey, thanks, Jeremy. I'll share my experience again. Feel free to chat if you would like to share your experience as well. Um, I've been doing some unstructured meditations of late, and the structure actually felt really helpful. And so I think that that's something I might need to consider. Just those little nudges help me feel a little bit more into the state of it. My mind wandered plenty, and so I was grateful for this idea of returning that we talked about earlier. That felt really, really nice. Overall, super relaxing, which isn't necessarily the point, but yeah, feeling like the phrase of nowhere to go, nothing to do. That was a pretty big rescue for me. That was like, oh yeah, that's nice. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to speak on that just a little bit that,
please.
there's it's so easy to get lost in this trap of thinking that a good meditation means a meditation where we're following the breath really closely.
Hmm.
And it's really not about the breath. It's not about concentration, even. That's one of the maybe the side benefits that can be powerful. But what it really is learning how to be okay with things as they are, how to make space for whatever experience is arising. So if you're having, lots of thoughts, if you're getting lost in thought, if you can be aware of the fact of being lost in thought and make space for that experience, that's what we're after. If you're
Yeah,
feeling sleepy, that doesn't matter. But if you can be aware that you're sleepy and be okay with it and just say, oh, I'm sleepy now, that's the quality of mindfulness that we're looking for. Because
mm,
that kind of equanimity is what translates into the recovery world really well.
yeah. This is where we kind of practice the fundamentals, so that in crucial moments or during our day or any moment during our day, we can draw out these principles or these moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was looking for kind of what's the emotion, and that wasn't really clear, and then you offered that idea of like, not knowing is an option here. And so again, that felt like, oh, okay, yeah, not knowing
Yeah.
is part of the experience as well, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Same with
cool.
sensations. Like if you're trying to explore, okay, what does my breath feel like in this moment?
Mhm.
If you can't really feel the breath, I mean, the breath is a good one because you can almost always feel it. But let's say you're doing some body scan and you're trying to feel, okay, what does my right thigh feel like? If you don't feel
Yeah.
anything, like you can just be aware of, oh, I'm not feeling anything right there. And that's okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really is just whatever is there. That's what we're acclimating to.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, everyone. Well, hopefully, this was a nice way to practice. For some, it might be an introduction. For others, a deepening of your practice. And it's not common that we get kind of the intro and kind of the outro that we got from Jeremy today. So hopefully that sets up and helps us kind of process the experience of meditation. So hope it was a lovely experience for everyone. So all right. Well, we'll go ahead and close out. But yeah, this in theory is kicking off a good habit for you. So find a source, check out Jeremy's. What's it called one more time? Is it
The
the?
Mindfulness Made Easy course.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah,
Okay.
Mindfulness Made Easy. That would be an excellent starting place. So be sure and check that out. Okay. All right. With that, we'll close out and thanks everyone.